So let's go for the questions. Okay, so in total, well, we have this couple of questions. So first question is from Emmanuel. He's an industrial engineer, and this question comes from Facebook. Is how does the finance works for the Hyperloop projects? Because if you're a student, how do you get the finance to build that thing? Does it come from the government, from private?
So if you asked about the student, I'm assuming the question is about the competition, not about the Hyperloop as a transportation means.
Yeah, to build it, just for the competition.
For the competition. Sponsoring. Writing many companies and many people about sponsoring. Shout outs to Airbus, who gave us our biggest check and was our biggest sponsor. Shout outs to TNG, who was our first sponsor, who gave us money when we were literally 13 slides of PowerPoints. So sponsoring different people at different times in the project will give you different amount of money depending on how they like you.
Okay, but is that the only thing? Like, do they like you, or is they also?
Oh, well, no, we mean to prove that you need to prove that you're good, and you need to prove that the technology works. And I mean, huge shout out for TNG for giving us money when we were just PowerPoints. A few slides of PowerPoint. By the time we got money from Airbus, which was much more money, we had already proved that it was after we came back from Texas, and we had already proved that our design was good and that it had been approved by SpaceX, and the engineering behind it was good enough. I mean, you do need to prove that you're good at what you're doing, but basically go out, talk to people, show them and prove to them that you're good, make them like you, be nice. Honestly, this gets underrated. Just be nice. Be nice and prove to them that you know what you're talking about, and sponsoring.
You can get some good finance. Good. So the second question also comes from Emmanuel. He asks what kind of like a checklist or what kind of requirements does wait, because I'm translating, so that's why I'm kind of like. Okay, what are the requirements from a country or from a city in general? Because obviously regulations are different everywhere in the world. But what kind of the general regulations or requirements does a city needs to approve to somebody to start one of these projects to build it in the city or in the country?
What do you mean with one of these projects? Transportation projects?
Yeah, he's talking about the Hyperloop.
The Hyperloop. Okay. Oh, what type of requirements the city needs to approve in order to build a Hyperloop? If you're asking about the construction of a full-scale Hyperloop as a mean of transportation, then definitely the first of them is money. Having enough money to build is definitely a hard one. If that is not a problem, and that usually is a problem, the rest of the things are things we can find solutions to. So for example, there's the discussion if you should do it overground or underground. And the answer to that question is it depends. There are cities where you can only do underground because simply finding an overground straight line. So one of the components being you need as straight as line as possible connecting origin and destination. And sometimes finding a straight line between two good origin and destinations can be really, really hard. Yeah. Just because you don't have the space because cities are so packed already, right? And in those cases, it does make a lot of sense to build it underground. If you are Dubai to Abu Dhabi, where you have a huge desert in between, then you can do it overground as well. Different costs in different places. In some places, it's very expensive to do underground. Some places, it's really expensive to do overground. So definitely one of the big ones, one of the big requirements is a high enough traffic or a high enough flow between two cities. So so cities with many people going back and forth are usually the best ones. Cities that are, let's say, in the range between
LA and San Diego or something like this, like LA to San Diego or something like this.
LA to San Francisco is the original one that Elon Musk talked about. LA to San Francisco is the original one. In Germany, I always talked about Munich to Berlin because many people going back and forth. In Brazil, you could definitely talk São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro. Definitely yes. It would probably make less sense to build a Hyperloop between São Paulo and Ribeirão Preto, where my family is from. Shout outs to Ribeirão Preto. Because the travel there is a bit smaller. So having enough people going back and forth, because that makes a difference on the economic side and the money side. If you have many people, you have more money to pay off. Distance is also a big one. So there's also the distance range where it makes sense, would be something between 100, more than 100 kilometers and less than 1,000 kilometers, less than 800 kilometers, something like that. So for example, I don't think we will have a Hyperloop anytime soon between Munich and São Paulo, simply because flying is cheaper than building an evacuated tube across the Atlantic. But cities that, basically these cities where, you know, these very stupid flights where you just go up, fly for 2 minutes and go down, those are the flights that are very good for Hyperloop for Hyperloop flights. Places that have several flights per day with less than 3 hours flight are good Hyperloop, pairs.
So Europe could be connected.
Europe could definitely be connected. Europe could definitely be connected. And there are companies working on it.
Oh my God, crazy. Okay, so the third and last question comes from Eduardo Matos. I think you know him from LinkedIn. He asked, could working from home improving sustainability and mobility in big centers as long-term policy?
As long-term policy, he knows exactly my opinion to this. So definitely there's difference between theory and practice, right? In theory, definitely yes. In theory, definitely yes. And my opinion about Corona is everyone who's talking about sustainability, the dream of sustainability is the behavioral change. Corona proved that the behavioral change is possible. From one day to the next, everyone was working from home. So it means that the behavioral change is possible. Corona, for me, that's the biggest advantage of Corona, is a change that it is possible. No one can ever say that it's hard to change, to fight climate change. Corona destroyed that argument. Thank you very much. So in theory, definitely yes. In practice, I read something on the internet last week, sometime in 2020, saying before we start talking about how much we want to go back, let's decide how much of the old life is worth going back to. And I think that's really the case. I don't think we should go back to everything that we were doing. I think that is horrible for the environment, and those are really things that desperately need a change. And so let's try to be optimistic, and maybe we can keep home officing more. And you definitely do not need to get into a flight for a 2-hour meeting. That can happen online.
Almost everything can happen online, right? Right now, like nowadays.
Corona said yes, right? In 2019, most people would have answered no to that question. In 2020, many answer yes.
That's really good. So with that, we can really close to the questions. And I want to thank you very much again for the time you took, and also the interest of participating. I think I'm really glad and grateful for it. And just one last question that I would like you personally to share with us. What would you tell to, that comes from me, what would you tell to either women or young women that wants to participate in one of these 17, solve to one of these 17 problems, or participate also into the STEM programs?
Get started, just do it. Honestly, just do it. On the technology side, we discussed a lot. There's everything you can learn online. You don't need more than an internet access and time. On the SDG side, there are a lot that you can do, even just by changing your personal life. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or man, everyone can do something for them. Everyone can do something for them. Everyone can recycle better than they do. And everyone thinks it doesn't make a difference. It makes a huge difference. Everyone can eat 1 less meat per week. Everyone can take 1 less ride per car, and maybe walk, and maybe take someone with you. Everyone can do something. Many of these changes are not big. Okay, just do it. Honestly, just do it. Stop making excuses and just do it.
Okay, big changes start from small changes. Okay.
Yes, one step at a time. One step at a time. One step. Start with one step, and you know what? Then you start recycling. Then you tell your friend that you start recycling and explain to her how it is. Then that's 2 people recycling. Then that's one next step. And then like one step at a time.
Let's finish with that. I love it. One step at a time. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for hearing this, and see you all, and have a good holidays.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invite.
And happy
holidays, happy New Year for everyone.